In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to knit and purl. Before I teach you the basic knit stitch, let me just give you a quick explanation of the science behind it. So every knit stitch creates a V, and on the back of every knit stitch, a bump is created, which we call a purl. So when you start learning how to knit, every time you knit a stitch, you'll have a V on the front side of your work, but it will create a purl bump on the back. So when I move on to teaching you how to do the purl stitch, when you do the purl stitch, the bump will be on the front and the knit stitch will be on the back. So that helps you with the science of understanding. It's pretty basic. There's just two stitches. The knit stitch creates the V and the purl stitch creates the bump. So every knit stitch has a purl bump in the back and every purl stitch has a knit stitch in the back. So they're just the reverse of each other. So let's move on to learning how to do the basic knit stitch. Okay, so you're going to want to start with some stitches cast on to one of your knitting needles. If you don't know how to cast on yet, make sure to refer back to some of my tutorials. With your second needle, you're going to start by going into the first stitch on your needle like this, from the left right out to the back to create an X. Now you're going to grab the working yarn. We call this the working yarn that's attached to your yarn ball, not this yarn end that is loose here. So with your working yarn out to the back, you're going to go around your needle tip like this, and you're going to, with this needle tip, you're going to pull that yarn through to the front, and then you're going to slip that stitch off your left needle like this. So be careful and hold on to your stitches here so they don't all fall off when you slide that first stitch off. So now again, you're going to go into the next stitch like this, creating an X. With your working yarn, go underneath the needle tip, and with this needle tip, it helps if you put your finger tip here and push it through to the other side. And you're going to slide this stitch off your needle carefully without letting any other stitches fall off. And then I just kind of slide these up a little bit to the needle tip. You're going to go into the next stitch, make that X, go around back and under the needle tip, poke that needle tip through, bringing that yarn to the front, and then slide your stitch off the needle. And you're going to continue in this manner all the way across, like this. I'm an English knitter, so I hold the working yarn in my right hand. Some people will dislike this and tell me I knit wrong, but I just don't hold the working yarn in my left hand like continental knitters do. I hold it in my right hand. You'll learn how to hold the stitches so that they don't slip off. So you go into that last stitch. And then you have all of the stitches from this needle onto this needle. Then you turn your needle around like this so that your working yarn is hanging off to the right. And you start the whole process all over again. I'll show you one more time. So you go into that first stitch, making an X. Underneath, poke it through to the front and slide it off. Back. And that is your basic knit stitch. Now let's move on to learning how to do the purl stitch. Okay, so as I explained in the beginning of this video, a purl stitch is just the opposite of a knit stitch. So instead of having your yarn off to the back and going into your stitch from the front like this and going around back with your working yarn, we're going to do the opposite. You're going to pull your working yarn to the front and you're going to go into the stitch from the back, bring your needle to the front, making that X, and you're going to take your working yarn and you're going to go between the V and off to the left, and then this needle tip is going to push that yarn to the back like this, and then you're going to slip it off the needle. So again, your working yarn is in the front. You're going to take your needle and you're going to go in from the back to the front, go between the V and around to the left, and poke that needle through, bringing that yarn to the back, and then slide that stitch off your left needle. So from the back, slide it through, pull it off. Okay, so you go back, through the V, around to the left side, poke it through, slow it down again. So you're going to take your needle tip from the back to the front, go through the V, around to the left, using your thumb this time, poke that needle through to the back, and then slide this first stitch off. There. So that's a row of purl stitches. Now you're going to turn your needle around again like this, so your working yarn is over here. And again, if you're going to purl, you pull the yarn to the front, and you take your needle, you go in from the back, like this. Slide it through and pop it off the needle. Just hold these stitches. You'll get used to holding your stitches so they won't fall off. Just keep focused on making sure you only drop one stitch off and hold the rest in place. So this is the basic purl stitch.
Thank you for watching, my mom.